The slap cracked through the ballroom like a gunshot. Isol's tray hit the floor. Glass exploded across marble. Champagne spread in golden rivers between designer heels and polished Oxfords, the sound of shattering crystal echoing off vaulted ceilings. The music cut mid-note. An elderly woman stumbled backward, clutching her face. Her traditional hanbok looked out of place among the evening gowns, the deep purple fabric trembling as she tried to steady herself against a table edge. A silver hairpin hung loose in her hair, threatening to fall. "You clumsy old fool." The voice was sharp, British accented, dripping with contempt. "Do you have any idea what this dress costs?" Isol's heart slammed against her ribs. She stood frozen 3 feet away, champagne soaking into her shoes, watching an elegant woman in emerald silk tower over someone's grandmother. The old woman's eyes were wide, terrified, searching the crowd of 300 faces for help that wasn't coming. Phones rose like a field of stars. The crowd formed a circle, but no one moved forward. No one spoke. They just watched, recording, bearing witness without intervening. The woman in green raised her hand again, rings catching the chandelier light. Isol's body moved before her mind caught up. She stepped between them, arms spread, hands shaking so badly she had to clench them into fists. "Stop." The word came out smaller than she'd intended, but it landed in the silence like a stone in still water. The woman's eyes, ice blue, furious, lined with perfect makeup, fixed on her. "Excuse me. I said stop." Isol's voice found strength she didn't know she had. She didn't mean to. It was an accident. A ripple moved through the crowd. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else whispered. Security guards in black suits started moving through the guests, but they were heading toward Isol, not toward the woman who just struck an elderly person in front of hundreds of witnesses. At the far end of the ballroom, near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, a man stood perfectly still. Dark suit, darker eyes. He watched but didn't move, his expression unreadable as smoke, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched. The woman in green smiled, and it was the cruelest thing Isol had ever seen. "Do you know who I am?" No. Isol's legs trembled beneath her black uniform. "And I don't care." That's when everything went wrong. If you love emotional romance stories where the wronged get justice, hit like and stay tuned. 2 hours earlier, Isol had been invisible. She'd arrived at the service entrance of the Aurelian Grand Hotel with the other catering staff at 5 o'clock, changed into her uniform in the cramped locker room, and received her assignments from Jung Mincio, her supervisor. Champagne service, table management, light appetizer circulation, the usual dance of appearing when needed and vanishing when noticed. "Keep your head down tonight," Mincio had warned, checking her tablet while 12 servers dressed around them. "This isn't your neighborhood fundraiser. These people have security teams and lawyers on speed dial. Don't engage. Don't react. Don't exist unless they need something. Understood?" Isol had nodded, tying her hair back with practiced efficiency. At 26, she'd worked enough of these events to understand the invisible line between staff and guests. She existed in the margins, a shadow that refilled glasses and cleared plates, present but never acknowledged. The ballroom had filled quickly after 7. Korea's business elite mixed with foreign dignitaries, old money chatted with new tech fortunes, and everyone smiled for cameras while calculating their next move. Isol moved through them like water, anticipating needs before they were voiced, clearing spaces before they were crowded, her feet already aching in the required heels. That's when she'd noticed the old woman. She stood near the entrance, clutching a worn leather handbag, her traditional hanbok beautiful but clearly handmade. The deep purple fabric was embroidered with silver thread, probably stitched by hand over weeks. Her eyes scanned the room with the lost expression of someone who'd been invited but didn't belong. She kept touching her hair, adjusting the silver pin that held it in place, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her skirt with nervous fingers. Isol recognized that look. Her own grandmother had worn it the one time she'd visited a corporate event, the weight of being surrounded by people who measured worth in bank accounts and portfolios. "Are you lost?" Isol asked softly, abandoning her tray on a side table. The woman's face flooded with relief, her shoulders visibly relaxing. "I'm supposed to meet someone but I can't. All these tables look the same." Her accent was thick, provincial, from somewhere south of Seoul. "My son sent a car, but the driver just pointed me inside and drove away. Let me help you find your table." "What's the name?" The woman fumbled with her purse, pulling out a crumpled invitation with shaking hands. The calligraphy was too elaborate for her to read in the dim lighting, all flourishes and expensive printing. Isil took it gently, squinting at the table number embossed in gold. Table 7. That's near the front, close to the stage. Isil offered her arm. Let me walk you there. The old woman's fingers were small and strong as they wrapped around Isil's elbow, her grip tight with gratitude. They moved slowly through the crowd, weaving between designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, and Isil felt the stares. Not at her, she was used to being invisible, but at her companion. The hanbok, the uncertainty. The simple silver hairpin in a room full of diamonds that cost more than cars. Table 7 was occupied by a group of foreign socialites, their laughter loud and performative, champagne glasses already half empty. At the head sat a woman in an emerald dress that probably cost more than Isil made in 6 months. Her blonde hair was swept up in an elaborate style that had taken hours, her neck dripping with emeralds that caught the light like trapped fire. She was mid-story, gesturing dramatically while her companions laughed on cue. Excuse me, Isil said quietly, professionally. I believe this table. This table is full. The blonde woman didn't even look up, didn't pause in her story. Try somewhere else. The old woman's grip tightened on Isil's arm, fingers digging in. But the invitation says table 7. I'm sure, my son. I don't care what your invitation says. The woman finally looked at them, her gaze sliding over the handmade hanbok with barely concealed disdain, lip curling slightly. We're in the middle of a conversation. Security can help you find appropriate seating. Appropriate. The word hung in the air like a slap. Isil felt heat rise in her chest, but her supervisor's warning echoed in her mind. Don't engage. Don't react. You're staff, not a guest. She was about to guide the old woman away to find someone else to help when someone jostled past. A server she didn't recognize, moving too fast, not watching. A half-full wine glass toppled. Red wine splashed across emerald silk like blood, spreading in an instant across the woman's lap and down her thigh. The woman shot to her feet, chair scraping backward. What the hell? I'm so sorry. The old woman's voice cracked, tears already forming. It wasn't, I didn't mean, I'll clean it, You stupid clumsy. The blonde woman's hand flew up. The slap echoed like a thunderclap. And Isil stopped thinking entirely. Now she stood between them, her arms spread like a shield, feeling the weight of 1,000 stares pressing against her skin like physical force. The security guards were close enough that she could smell their cologne, hear the static from their earpieces, see the decision calculations happening behind their eyes. The woman in green, Evelyn Cross, Isil would learn later, wife of a British financier who'd married into Korean elite circles, looked her up and down with the kind of contempt reserved for insects found in expensive food. Your staff. Move aside before I have you arrested for assault. Assault. Isil's voice shook but held firm. You just slapped an elderly woman in front of all these witnesses. I defended myself against someone who ruined a $30,000 Valentino dress. Evelyn's smile was all teeth and no warmth, her accent making each word sharp as a knife. And now you're interfering with my right to seek damages. So unless you want to spend the night explaining yourself to police, I suggest you get back to serving drinks and forget you saw anything. Behind Isil, the old woman was crying softly, her whole body shaking. Please, I'll pay for the dress. I'll do whatever you want, I'll sell my. You couldn't afford the thread. Evelyn raised her hand again, this time toward Isil, rings glinting with threat. Last chance. Move. Isil's entire body locked up. Her supervisor was going to kill her. Fire her on the spot. She'd lose this job, probably get blacklisted from every catering company in Seoul. Her rent was due in a week. Her student loans were already in deferment. Her mother back in Lagos was counting on the money she sent home. She couldn't afford to be noble. She couldn't afford principles. But she also couldn't afford to live with herself if she stepped aside. No. The second slap caught her across the left cheek, hard enough to snap her head sideways. Pain bloomed like fire across her face. She tasted copper. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that sounded like wind through trees. Isil's ears rang. Her cheek throbbed. But she didn't move. Evelyn's face twisted with rage, all pretense of elegance gone. How dare you? She grabbed Isil's arm, nails digging into flesh hard enough to bruise. Security. Remove this woman immediately. I want her charged with harassment and assault. I want her name. I want her employer's information. I want. Two guards reached for Isul. One grabbed her shoulder, grip firm and professional. The other moved toward the old woman, hand outstretched. That's when something changed. One of the guards froze mid-reach, his hand suspended in the air like he'd hit an invisible wall. His earpiece crackled with static and then a voice too quiet for Isul to hear. His face went pale, color draining in seconds. He released Isul's shoulder like it had burned him, stepping back so quickly he nearly stumbled. The second guard checked his phone, the screen illuminating his face with pale light. Whatever he saw made him take a full step backward. Then another, hands dropping to his sides. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire catching dry grass. Table to table, guest to guest. A wave of recognition that Isul couldn't understand. People were staring but not at her anymore. Their gazes tracked toward the windows, toward the man in the dark suit who'd been watching from the beginning, still holding that untouched glass of whiskey. Evelyn sensed it too. She looked around, confusion flickering across her face before arrogance reasserted itself. I said remove them. Now, what am I paying you people for? Mrs. Cross. The first guard's voice was careful, professional, stripped of emotion. I think you should. I don't care what you think. That's what I pay you for, to not think, just to do. Do your job or I'll have you replaced before the night is over. But the guards didn't move. They stood frozen, their eyes fixed on something behind Isul, their body language screaming retreat. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Footsteps approached, measured and unhurried. Dress shoes on marble. The sound of someone who'd never rushed for anything in his life because the world waited for him. Because time itself bent to his schedule. Isul turned slowly. The man from the windows was closer now. 30, maybe 35, with the kind of face that cameras loved and people feared. Sharp cheekbones that could cut glass. Dark eyes that missed nothing and forgave less. A mouth set in a line that suggested smiling was something other people did. His suit was black and perfectly tailored. Expensive in a way that didn't need logos or labels to prove itself. He walked past Isul without glancing at her, his focus entirely elsewhere. He walked past Evelyn without acknowledging her outrage, her sputtering demands for attention. He stopped in front of the old woman, who was still trembling, tears streaming down her weathered face, her hanbok stained with wine and shame. And he knelt. The entire ballroom seemed to stop breathing. 300 people held their breath as one. Mother. His voice was low, respectful, carrying just far enough for the nearest tables to hear as he knelt down. I'm sorry I'm late. The old woman's eyes went wide, hands flying to her mouth. Jaiwan? I thought, they said you were too busy to come, that you'd sent the car so I could. Never too busy for you. He stood now, smoothly, offering his hand with infinite gentleness, supporting her elbow as she rose. Are you hurt? She shook her head but fresh tears spilled over. I made a mess. I ruined everything. Your important night, You ruined nothing. He helped her to her feet with the care someone might use with spun glass. Nothing at all. Then he turned to face the crowd. The whispers exploded. Han Jaiwan. That's his mother? Oh my God, does Evelyn know? Someone needs to get her out of here. Evelyn's face had gone from flushed with anger to pale with dawning comprehension, the color draining so fast she swayed slightly. Mr. Han, I had no idea. If I'd known she was your. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. Jaiwan looked at her for the first time. It was the kind of look that made stock prices drop and business deals evaporate. You had no idea she was human? That's not what I meant. The wine, my dress, it was an accident and tempers flared, you know how these things. You struck my mother. Each word was quiet, precise, final as a judge's gavel. You attempted to strike her again. You ordered my mother's defender arrested for protecting her from further assault. Isul's heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat. The man Han Jaiwan had just changed everything with 4 words. You struck my mother. Evelyn's hands fluttered like trapped birds. It was a misunderstanding. Obviously I would never. Your mother is welcome at my table, of course she is, and this girl was simply doing her job. I'm sure we can all move past this unfortunate. Her name. I'm sorry. Jaiwan's gaze moved to Isul for the first time. His eyes impossibly dark, unreadable as deep water. The woman who defended my mother when every other person looked away and did nothing. What's her name? Isul's voice caught in her throat. Every eye in the room was on her now. Isul. Isul Adeyemi. Something flickered across his expression. Ms. Adeyemi. He inclined his head, a gesture that somehow conveyed more respect than any bow. Thank you for your courage tonight. 2 words. That's all. But the room reacted like he'd delivered a sermon. Evelyn was backing away now, her friends abandoning her. Mr. Han, please let me make this right. I'll apologize publicly. I'll donate to whatever charity you prefer. You'll do nothing. Jaiwan's voice never rose. Authority rolled off him like heat. You'll leave this event immediately. You'll leave this hotel. And you'll spend the next several months learning what it means to operate in a world where your husband's money can't buy you immunity from consequences. You can't. I'm a guest here. I have every right to. My husband is on the board of 3 companies you do business with. Jaiwan pulled out his phone. He didn't dial. He simply held it, and within seconds, 3 men in expensive suits materialized from different corners of the room. Mrs. Cross will be leaving now, Jaiwan said quietly. Please ensure her departure is swift and permanent. You can't do this. Evelyn's voice climbed toward hysteria. My husband is on the board of. We have connections, you can't just. Your husband, one of the suited men said with practiced politeness, is currently in a meeting with our legal team. He sends his apologies and suggests you wait in the car. The color drained from Evelyn's face completely. What? What meeting? I don't. But the men were already escorting her toward the exit, her protests fading as the crowd swallowed the space she'd occupied. Within moments it was like she'd never existed. Conversations resumed. Glasses clinked. The quartet in the corner started playing again. Isul stood frozen, her cheeks still throbbing, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. The old woman, Jaiwan's mother, was being led to a chair, someone bringing her water and a warm towel. Jaiwan turned to Isul. You're trembling. She was. Her whole body was shaking. I'm fine. You're not. He shrugged out of his jacket and held it toward her. You're in shock. And you're cold. Isul stared at the jacket. I can't. It's not a request. Please. She took it, the fabric heavy and warm. It smelled like expensive cologne and something else. Safety, maybe. Jaiwan gestured to one of his men. Have someone bring my mother's car around. Make sure she gets home safely. He looked back at Isul, studying her face. That woman hit you. And I watched. I saw. Anger flared through her shock. Why? Because I needed to see what you would do. And because my mother's safety required me to assess the full situation before acting. His expression didn't change. I'm sorry you were hurt in the process. You're sorry. Isul laughed harshly. I just lost my job for you. For her. And you're sorry. You haven't lost your job. I assaulted a guest. You protected an elderly woman from assault. There's a difference. He pulled out his phone. What's your supervisor's name? Why? Because I'm going to ensure your employment continues without interruption. The name. Nothing made sense. Young Mincio. But I don't want special treatment. Jaiwan was already typing. It's done. You can't just. I can. I did. He turned his attention fully on her. You risked your safety and livelihood for a stranger. That's not nothing, Ms. Adeyemi. I didn't do it for you. Something changed in his expression. Interest, maybe. No, you didn't. Which is exactly why it mattered. A woman in a designer suit approached. Sir, photographers are asking for a statement. Tell them there is no statement. She retreated. Jaiwan looked at Isul. You should go. You've been through enough. I have to work. You have the night off. Paid. My driver will take you home. I can take the bus. You're wearing my jacket and you just made an enemy. Humor me. Exhaustion crept in. Her cheek throbbed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adeyemi, for seeing my mother when no one else would. As she walked toward the exit, he called after her. Ms. Adeyemi? She turned. If you ever need anything, call this number. He held out a business card. Day or night? She took it. Just a name and phone number. I won't need it. I hope you're right. But keep it anyway. The driver was silent and professional. At her apartment building, he handed her an envelope. Inside, a handwritten card. Your courage honored my mother and shamed a room full of cowards. If our paths cross again, I hope it's under better circumstances. H.J. Isul made tea with shaking hands. Her cheek throbbed. But somewhere in her chest, something fierce burned with the knowledge that she'd done the right thing. She fell asleep on her couch still wearing Jaiwan's jacket, the business card in her pocket. The consequences arrived quietly. Isil woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The video was everywhere. Someone had filmed the entire confrontation. It had been edited, set to dramatic music, captioned with speculation. Mystery woman defends Mafia boss's mother. Her face was clear in every frame. Her name was in the comments, her entire life dug up by internet detectives. But scrolling through comments, she found overwhelming support. Thousands calling her brave, calling Evelyn a bully, calling Jaiwan's response justified. Her supervisor called. "You're famous. The company is getting calls. People wanting to book you specifically. You've been moved to premium events. Better pay. Better hours. I didn't ask for. I know. But it's happening anyway. You did a good thing, Isul." Meanwhile, Evelyn Cross had disappeared from Seoul's social scene overnight. Internet sleuths had dug up a pattern. 3 previous incidents of her abusing service staff, all quietly settled with money and NDAs. But this time there were no settlements. Her charity board positions gone. Her husband's company had quietly distanced itself from her. And rumors swirled that their marriage was ending. Someone leaked that 3 luxury brands had revoked her ambassador contracts within hours of Jaiwan's phone call. She'd been erased so completely it was like she'd never existed in Seoul's elite circles at all. Isul's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "The jacket is yours to keep. You earned it. HJ. She saved the number and put the card in her wallet. 3 weeks passed. The video faded but never quite disappeared. Isul's new assignments were exactly as promised. Premium galas, better pay. She could breathe for the first time in years. But she hadn't heard from Jaiwan. Then her phone rang at 2 in the morning. "Ms. Adeyemi." Jaiwan's voice was rough. "I apologize for the hour. Is something wrong? Your mother is fine. This isn't about her." A pause. "Do you regret it? Stepping in that night?" She thought about the video, the attention, her shifted life. About Evelyn's hand rising, the old woman's tears, 300 people's indifference. "No," she said firmly. "I don't. Even though it cost you your anonymity? It wasn't peaceful before. Just quiet. Why are you asking?" "Because my mother wants to meet you. To thank you." His voice changed, became more human. "She's been asking every day. She feels responsible for what happened to you. None of that was her fault. Try telling her that. She's the most stubborn person I know. And the kindest." Affection colored his words. "You'd like her." She remembered the old woman's gentle grip. "When?" "Tomorrow. Lunch. Somewhere quiet. I'll send a car. I can take the bus. Humor me. Please." "Okay. Tomorrow. Thank you." And Isul. He'd never used her first name before. "Yes. Wear something comfortable. My mother doesn't like formality." The restaurant was small, family-owned. Jaiwan waited outside in jeans and a sweater, looking younger, less untouchable. "You came," he said. "Yes, I did. You sent 3 different cars." "I needed to ensure your safety," Jaiwan replied. "Where are my manners? Please come inside." He opened the door for her. Inside, Mrs. Seo pulled Isul into a hug that smelled like garlic and ginger. "You came. Thank you. Mother, let her breathe." The meal was beautiful chaos. Mrs. Seo moved between dishes, explaining each one, making sure Isul tried everything. Jaiwan sat quietly, occasionally stopping his mother from overfeeding her. His eyes warm with affection. "Mother, she's going to burst. She's too thin. You work too hard. Jaiwan told me. He had someone check on you." Isul glanced at Jaiwan. "You had someone check on me? I wanted to make sure you were safe after the video." He didn't look apologetic. "I needed to know you weren't being harassed." "That's thoughtful." In a terrifying way. Mrs. Seo laughed. "She's not afraid of you. I like her, Jaiwan." "I noticed, Mother. You should keep her." "Mother? A woman who steps in front of trouble? Who doesn't faint at your serious voice?" Mrs. Seo patted Isul's hand. "That's someone worth keeping." Isul's face burned. "Mrs. Seo, we're not." "Not yet. But my son looks at you like you're a puzzle he wants to solve." Her expression softened. "That's how his father looked at me." Jaiwan stood abruptly. "I'll check on the kitchen." "The kitchen is closed. Sit down." But he was already walking away. Mrs. Seo leaned toward Isul. "He's not good with feelings. But his actions toward you? Those speak loudly. I barely know him. You know he protects what he values. You know he kneels for his mother in front of powerful people. Mrs. Seo squeezed her hand. That's more than most learn in years. The lunch stretched into afternoon. Mrs. Seo told stories about Jaiwon's childhood, about building a life from nothing. Jaiwon added details reluctantly, his voice warm with exasperation and love. Aisol found herself relaxing, sharing her own stories. Her mother and Legos, her grandmother's recipes, the path that brought her to Seoul. When the sun set, Mrs. Seo packed leftovers. Come back. Not for my son. For me. I'd like that. Jaiwon walked Aisol to his car. I apologize for her. She's invested. She's wonderful. She's a menace. But affectionate. Why did you really call me? He looked at her for a long moment. Because she asked. And because I wanted to see if you'd come. And you came. Even though you owe me nothing. That tells me everything I needed to know. Which is that my mother is a better judge of character than I am. Good night, Aisol. A message from Jaiwon. Thank you for today. My mother hasn't smiled like that in years. She typed back. Thank you for trusting me with your family. His response. You earned that trust the moment you stepped in front of her. 2 months passed. Summer turned to autumn. The video faded. Aisol settled into her routine better jobs, weekly lunches with Mrs. Seo. Jaiwon was there sometimes, his eyes occasionally finding Aisol with an expression she couldn't read. Then the invitation arrived. The Seoul Elite Autumn Gala cordially invites Ms. Aisol Adeyemi, guest of honor. Han Jaiwon. Her phone rang. Did you get it? The invitation? Yes. What is this? A gala. I'm being honored. A pause. I'd like you to come as my guest. As staff. As my guest. Her heart stopped. I don't understand. I'd like to have someone there who isn't afraid to tell me if I'm being an ass. You've survived one before. She thought about the last gala. The slap. The fear. What time should I be ready? His exhale was relief. 7. I'll pick you up myself. Jaiwon. Yes. If someone tries to slap your mother again, I'm still stepping in. His laugh was quiet, genuine, warm. I'd expect nothing less. The dress arrived 2 days before. Deep blue silk. A note. No obligation to wear this. But if you do, you'll outshine everyone. HJ. She tried it on. The fabric fell perfectly. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Someone brave enough to step into a world she'd only served. Jaiwon arrived at 7. He stopped when he saw her. Blue suits you. It's too beautiful. It's yours. Ready? No. Good. Neither am I. The Aurelian Grand looked different arriving as a guest. Cameras flashed. Jaiwon guided her through with a hand on her lower back. Inside, everywhere, people turned to stare at her. Jaiwon leaned close. Ignore them. They're not worth your attention. Easy for you to say. You survived worse in this very room. This is nothing. Jaiwon accepted his award, thanking people who remind us that courage comes in unexpected forms. His eyes found Aisol and the room noticed. During dinner, an elegant woman approached. Mr. Han, your choice of companion is bold. My choice is mine. As is the decision to continue or end this conversation. The woman retreated. Aisol leaned toward him. Was that necessary? Yes. She's about to spread vicious rumors. Better she knows there are consequences. I can handle rumors. I know. But you shouldn't have to. His hand found hers under the table. Not anymore. Near midnight, the music shifted. Jaiwon stood, offering his hand. Dance with me. I don't. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. On the dance floor, they moved awkwardly, out of sync, stepping on each other's feet. Then Jaiwon laughed, really laughed, and Aisol found herself laughing too. We're terrible at this, she said. Spectacularly terrible. He pulled her closer. But I don't care. Jaiwon, what are we doing? He looked down at her, expression open. I don't know. But I'd like to find out. If you would. People are going to talk. Let them. Your world and mine are the same world. Different angles. His hand tightened on her waist. You stood between my mother and danger. You came to lunch when you didn't have to. You're here now despite knowing what it costs. That's someone worth knowing better. The music swelled. Isol's heart hammered, but this time it wasn't fear. It was possibility. I'm not good at this. At being seen. Neither am I. But maybe we could be terrible at it together. She looked up at him. This man who commanded rooms and knelt for his mother and danced badly at his own gala. Okay, she whispered. Let's be terrible together. His smile was soft, genuine, just for her. Thank you. The song ended. The room applauded. Jaiwan led her off the dance floor. And the stares had changed. Not dismissive. Not curious. Something closer to respect. Near the exit, she saw her old supervisor in a server's uniform. Their eyes met. Mincio smiled and nodded. Full circle. As they left, whispers followed them. But Isol walked beside him with her head high, stepping into whatever came next. Because she'd learned something. The cost of doing nothing was always higher than the cost of stepping forward. In the car, Jaiwan looked at her. What are you thinking? Isol smiled. That your mother was right. About. That the best things find us when we're not looking. She squeezed his hand. And that you're terrible at dancing. His laugh filled the space between them, warm and real in hers. And somewhere in Seoul an old woman smiled, knowing her son had found someone who saw him. Not the power, not the fear, but the man who poured tea and protected his mother and stepped into chaos to make things right. Just like Isol had. Just like they both would, together. If you believe standing up for someone matters even when it costs you, tap like so more people hear this story. If you'd step in like Isol did, subscribe and tell me. Would you have been brave enough? Let me see your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.